Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why you can't stop putting things off, even when you know you shouldn't? Well, this new study might have a clue. We're talking about procrastination, that sneaky habit of delaying tasks, and this research dives into a strategy that might just help us beat it. Digital disconnection. The researchers here are looking at a common problem. We live in a world where our phones are always buzzing, social media is always tempting, and it is super easy to get pulled away from the things we actually need to do. This constant connectivity can seriously mess with our ability to finish important tasks, leading to procrastination. When you put off studying for a test to scroll through TikTok. Even though you know you'll regret it later, studies show that using phones and social media a lot often goes hand in hand with procrastinating more. It is like our brains get wired to seek out those quick, fun rewards from our screens, making it harder to focus on long-term goals. Because of this, many people try to cut back on their digital use. They might intentionally put their phone away, turn off notifications, or avoid certain apps. This deliberate act of taking a break from digital media is what the researchers call digital disconnection. They wondered if this disconnection could actually be a useful tool, a kind of self-control tactic, to help us fight procrastination. And here's the cool part, they wanted to see if this disconnecting actually works. They proposed that when people intentionally reduce their digital media use, they should procrastinate less. They also thought that people who are generally better at self-control might be more likely to disconnect. And they predicted that when we're facing a situation where our desire for digital fun conflicts with an important goal, like studying, we'd be more likely to disconnect. So, how did they figure all this out? They did a study over 2 weeks where they asked people a bunch of short questions multiple times a day. Imagine getting a ping on your phone asking you about what you were just doing or feeling. They had over 200 young adults participate. They used an app that would send out these quick surveys, usually asking about the last 2 hours. This is called an experience sampling method, and it is great because it captures what people are doing and feeling in their real, everyday lives. To measure procrastination, they asked participants things like, in the last 2 hours, did you needlessly delay working on a task? They wanted to know how much people were putting things off. For digital disconnection, they looked at different ways people might disconnect. This could be anything from not using your entire phone to closing a specific app, turning off notifications, avoiding certain conversations, or even just not looking at certain types of content. They also measured people's general ability to control themselves, which they call trait self-control. This is like your built-in self-discipline muscle. And to measure goal conflict, they asked whether using digital media clashed with other important goals, like work or studying. Now, for the findings, what did they discover? This is a big one. They found that in the moments when people chose to disconnect from their digital devices, they procrastinated less. This happened within the same situations. So, if you actively decided to put your phone down, you are less likely to be putting off your task right then and there. This strongly supports the idea that digital disconnection can be an effective tool against procrastination. Even more interestingly, they found that disconnecting wasn't just helpful in the moment. They looked at disconnection in one situation and procrastination in the next situation, about 2 hours later. And guess what? Disconnecting earlier actually led to less procrastination later on. This suggests that the benefits of taking a digital break can actually last for a while. That is a pretty powerful finding for our daily habits. They also looked at what makes people more likely to disconnect in the first place, and they found that people who are generally better at self-control are indeed more likely to take digital breaks. And remember that goal conflict we talked about, the clash between wanting to use your phone versus needing to work? Well, they found that when people experienced more of this goal conflict in a situation, they were more likely to disconnect. It makes sense, right? When faced with a temptation that pulls you away from your goals, you're more likely to try and remove that temptation. They also explored how trait self-control and situational goal conflict work together. They found that when people have high self-control and are in a situation with a lot of goal conflict, they are even more likely to disconnect. It seems like people with good self-control use disconnection as a deliberate strategy when they feel that pull between their desires and their duties. The researchers then dug deeper to see how disconnection might be working. They used a fancy statistical method called mediation analysis. Basically, they wanted to see if disconnection was the bridge connecting goal conflict to procrastination. And this is where it gets really interesting. They confirmed that when there is more goal conflict, people tend to procrastinate more. But when they factored in digital disconnection, they found that disconnection acts as a buffer. It helps to reduce the negative impact of that goal conflict on procrastination. So, by disconnecting, You are essentially cutting off the source of the distraction that leads to putting things off. It is like unplugging the tempting alarm clock so you can actually get up and do your task. They also found that higher trait self-control was linked to lower procrastination. And a piece of that connection was through using digital disconnection. This reinforces the idea that people with higher self-control might be more strategic about using disconnection to manage their tasks. Finally, the researchers explored which types of disconnection were most effective. They found that disconnecting from entire devices like your phone or laptop was really effective. Disconnecting from specific applications like social media apps also help reduce procrastination. And even turning off certain features within apps like notifications showed a positive effect. What is fascinating is that disconnecting from specific interactions or message content seemed to have less of an effect. This suggests that the most powerful way to combat procrastination might be to remove the temptation at a higher level, like blocking access to the entire device or app, rather than trying to filter individual messages. It is like putting the whole cookie jar away, rather than just trying not to eat the cookies. So, what does all of this mean for us? This study provides strong evidence that digital disconnection isn't just a trendy buzzword. It is a real, practical self-regulatory strategy that can help us beat procrastination. It shows that intentionally stepping away from our screens, even for short periods, can lead to less task avoidance. The researchers highlight that this isn't about doing drastic week-long digital detoxes. It is about using disconnection as a more flexible tool in our daily lives. When you feel that temptation to scroll, consciously choosing to delay that gratification can make a real difference. One of the most exciting findings is how it impacts our behavior not just in the immediate moment, but also later. The fact that disconnecting in one situation led to less procrastination in the next suggests a lasting positive effect. This hints that taking a break can help reset our focus and make us more productive in the long run. Now, no study is perfect, and the researchers are upfront about that. They used self-reported data, meaning people told them how much they procrastinated. In the future, it would be great to see studies that also look at more objective measures, like actual work completion or performance. Additionally, while their experience sampling method is great for real-world insights, it is hard to definitively prove cause and effect. Future research might involve experiments to more clearly establish the causal link. They also acknowledge that while individual self-regulation is important, broader societal or organizational changes, like tech companies designing less addictive platforms, could also play a huge role. But overall, this research is incredibly encouraging. It gives us a concrete, actionable strategy for managing the constant distractions of our digital lives. Digital disconnection, when used intentionally, can be a powerful ally in our fight against procrastination. It shows that we have more control than we might think, and that sometimes the best way to get things done is to intentionally step away from the screen. So, what is my take on this? I think this study is super timely and relevant. It provides practical advice for anyone struggling with procrastination in our hyper-connected world. The idea that simple, deliberate breaks from digital media can have a ripple effect on our productivity is fantastic. It's not about demonizing technology, but about learning to use it more mindfully. A potential limitation I see is that the study focused on young adults. It would be interesting to see if these findings hold true for different age groups and in different work or academic contexts. Also, the right to disconnect is mentioned, which is a really important societal consideration. While individual strategies are great, systemic changes are also vital. What is next? Future research could explore specific types of disconnection strategies in more detail. For example, are there certain app settings or features that are particularly effective? And how can we best integrate these personal strategies with broader societal efforts to create a healthier digital environment? Ultimately, this research empowers us. It suggests that by strategically unplugging, we can reclaim our focus and make significant progress on our goals. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment sharing your own experiences with digital disconnection and procrastination. And don't forget to subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more insights into the fascinating world of psychology. Thanks for watching.